what you do with what you learn. And this can range, I mean, there's so many possibilities here, but it's giving yourself activities and opportunities to practice what you have learned.
Well, the sunshine is starting to peek through the clouds, and we are back with another edition of A World of BCD. And today, very excited to be opening the house. Jodie Schaekel, a global programs manager of learning and development, which is in my wheelhouse, is joining us on the show this week. Welcome, Jodie.
Thank you, Chica. I am really excited to be here today. So thanks for having me.
Of course, and I'm excited because really you're the first colleague that's so close to home that I get to talk with on this podcast. So I'm just excited to share the work that we're involved in and share you to the global listening audience, because you have so much great work that you're doing that I can't wait to talk about. So you ready?
Absolutely. Hit me.
Well, before I hit you, Jodie, why don't I give you the microphone and let you just tell, what's your story at BCD? I know you've been in a number of different functions over your career here.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very kind of interesting story as it relates to BCD, because I started back in the day, 1997, actually, with World Travel Partners. And so I have been in the BCD family for 22 years. And through those years, I was started with World Travel Partners, and I went over to TRX and was there for 13 years, which of course was a sister company at the time. And then in 2010, landed here within the core of BCD Travel. So 22 years within the BCD family, which I have just can't imagine my professional life going any other direction, which has been super fantastic. And during that whole time, I think with the exception of 1 year, I've been in learning and development. So if you know me, which I know you do, and others, learning and development is my passion. It's just, I love getting up every day and doing what I do.
And Jodie, I know for many of our listeners, we've probably seen you a lot in the more recent years on Chatter, giving us tips of the day on how we can best develop ourselves. But I don't want to jump too far ahead of the gun, Jodie. Yeah. Maybe you can paint for us, when you, with all of your now decades of experience in BCD, in the learning arm, what is that at BCD for you?
Wow, what is learning at BCD? Well, for me, it's actually a lot of different things, but I think, when I think about learning at BCD, the first thing I really think about is the confident self, right? It is kind of our vision for our employees, to be knowledgeable, willing, and able. And it's something I really feel passionate about, because I think our own growth as an individual employee is just so important. It gives me the confidence to do what I want to do within BCD, and to know that I'm supported by the company in doing that, I think is tremendous, right? And so taking that and running with it just absolutely gets me jazzed. It's what I love.
And before any of our listeners roll their eyes or shrug their shoulders, I know that both you and I, Jodie, we deal with daily people coming to us saying, I get it, it looks great, the confident self, I get it, on paper looks awesome, but I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Let's take that off the table for a second. How do you answer that question or that debate?
How do I answer the debate if I don't have enough time? Well, I think it is a very much a personal decision, and I think it starts with that commitment, right? The commitment that I'm making to myself, right? And so I think how I handle that and how I encourage other people to handle that is to encourage them to pick a slot of time each week, and whatever works for you. It could be 15 minutes, it could be 30, it could be an hour. For me, it's an hour, and I choose one day a week, and I schedule that on my calendar. I make it a recurring appointment, and I make the commitment to myself, Chica, that this is an uncancelable, unmovable event, because I'm that important. I'm that important to me, and I'm that important to BCD Travel, and it's on my calendar. And it's hard the first couple times, because I know we all get really overwhelmed with work and getting things done. But the First few times I have to tell somebody no, I can't take a meeting right then because that's my learning and development time. Can we go an hour later? The first couple times people see me and they see um, that I'm committed to that, I think it sends a message to other people, but
Mm.
it gets a lot easier. And so that recurring event comes up on my calendar. For me, it's an hour. For others, it might be 15 minutes, but it's something that I'm committed to within myself and my own development. So
That's
that's
great.
how I handle it.
That's great, Jody. And maybe we can sit here for a second and unpack that a little. So you say that you're dedicating an hour and whatever time segment it was 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Over that course of an hour, what do you do? Are you just watching videos? Like, how do you define development within an hour a week?
Yeah, actually, that's a really great question because I like to have a blend of different things that I'm doing. So to give you, and this is for me, it's on Friday. So to give you a picture of what my Friday looks like during my learning and development time, one of the first things I do is I go out to LinkedIn, right? And I spend 15, 20 minutes kind of perusing LinkedIn, following the industry, following some thought leaders that I like to follow, kind of getting inspired by some of the work that they're doing. Then kind of depart from that and hop over to LinkedIn Learning. And so I have set some personal development goals that through talking to my manager, we've agreed on. And so I know that there's some target areas that I'm personally working on. I go out and I try and find some courses or some videos that would support that.
Mm,
Now, and I think the one really important thing to pull out here is that, you know, we are in what I like to call it a digital learning environment, right? We know that digital is here, it's moving, it's evolving. And we know that, in this day and age, I need to consume content really quickly and visually, right?
mm,
And so the idea of my learning being informal is incredibly inspiring to me because I don't have to go and travel to attend the training. I don't have to dedicate a full day of my time. I can spend 15 minutes watching some videos on emotional intelligence because maybe that's an area that I want to grow in. I don't even have to watch the full course. I
mm.
can go out, watch 2 or 3 videos, get inspired, and then I always stop and think about how can I take this inspiration that I just got or this information that I just got and apply it right
Mm.
in my world, right? So I might share it out on Chatter, right? Because I'm sharing with my colleagues. I might share with my manager or some other close colleagues of some things that I've learned. So I try and take that balance. And of course, Chica, in our world, we call that the 70-20-10, right?
Ah,
We take
good.
a little bit of a blend.
Pretend I'm a listener. I have no idea about this ratio that you just brought up, and I know that it's not a hard number ratio,
Mhm.
but it's close to it. Could you maybe break that out a little as we
Yeah,
continue in this
yeah,
dialogue?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So essentially, what the 70-20-10 development model states is that what we learn as adults and individuals, 10% of what comes from formal learning. So attending a training class, watching a video, those kinds of things. 20% of what we learn comes through interacting with others and speaking with others and getting inspired by others. So this could be sharing something on Chatter. It could be having a discussion with your manager or maybe your mentor or with your team, right? So that 20% is learning and sharing through others. And then the 70% is just getting in there and doing it, right? So it's
Mm,
rolling up your sleeves and saying, hey, how can I apply what I've learned? Right. So that's what we call the 70-20-10. And often people look at it because they think sometimes that, oh, I can fix this development gap that I have by attending some training. And that's only a
right.
small piece of the puzzle, right?
That's
It's
like
what
me
you
turning up and finding a TED talk on teamwork, and then suddenly thinking that I'm better at teamwork because I've watched a video,
absolutely,
right?
yeah. It's what you do with what that information you just received. That's the win, right? That's the win.
That's
What
awesome,
you do with
Jody. And so the 70-20-10 model, I know that we've really started to infuse that through some of our offerings. I know that
it.
we've
Hmm.
started it in some of the talent programs. I know that you're doing a lot of work there too. Maybe we can shift or pivot right now, as we say, agile. Be agile in the moment, and pivot. And maybe we pull out of what you do week to week. Talk to us about some of the cool offerings that involve 70-20-10 across the development platform of ECD.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the big one, and the one I certainly want to put some highlight on as that relates to the 10%, right? So the actual formal learning is LinkedIn Learning, right? We've got this new wonderful platform that anybody can go out and choose from over 13,000 online courses and get information, right? They can get content. It's there. And I joke with people to say there's just not too much that I can't find something out on LinkedIn Learning. You can find everything from digital strategy to Excel to how to play the guitar, if that so inspires you, right?
That's awesome.
So that's the 10%. That is certainly one of the offerings. We have many other offerings within the Business Travel Academy, everything from DDI to internally developed courses.
So, Jodie, maybe we can stay here for a second within LinkedIn Learning because I know that this has been a massive project and piece of learning that you've brought and developed at BCD recently. Pretend that I'm sitting in a team and I just look across the landscape of thousands of videos. Like, how do I target that for what I need? Or how do I find that outside of just searching randomly for public speaking skills? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you have tips or hints for us?
Yeah, and I think I'll probably answer that in two different ways. So if you're an individual and looking for things for yourself, I think one of the how I would use it for what I would use for my compass there is my latest performance evaluation and the discussions I've had with my manager about areas that I need to improve in, right? And so I think that will give you some, some direction as to where to go. And then I would say once you have that, and let's just say emotional intelligence, okay? So let's say your manager has said you need to improve on emotional intelligence. You go out to LinkedIn Learning. It's a very powerful search engine. So you can go out and search emotional intelligence, and then through some filtering that's available on the site, you can filter down to the level beginner, intermediate, advanced.
Mm.
If there's maybe a component of emotional intelligence that you need to work on, like self-awareness. So the more specific you can be in searching, the better, okay? And so that's how I would handle it as an individual and going out and searching and finding that content. Of course, on the homepage, Chica, you can, and this is some of the power behind LinkedIn Learning,
The
is
homepage of
that
LinkedIn Learning you're referring to, yeah?
yes, absolutely. See, because it's tied to your LinkedIn profile. So it knows what roles you've previously had.
Mm.
It knows what skills that you have highlighted in your profile. And so it's going to make some recommendation to you, to the i.e. the Amazon effect, right?
Mm.
So it's going to, start pushing and recommending content to you that might be applicable to you. So if you go out, check your performance evaluation, get some inspiration there, maybe go to the homepage, see what it's recommending, see what's trending out on LinkedIn Learning, see what others are watching, right? Those kinds of things are a way I would handle it as an individual. Now, if you're a manager and you're wanting to find, hey, what's some stuff I can recommend to my team? I think that again, through the process of the performance evaluation, you will likely get some inspiration. But another great tool I think that you can use as a manager is Peakon. Right, you
Mm.
can see some of the insights that are coming through for Peakon for your team, and glean some information there, and going out and making recommendations as well. So you can use that same thought process, going out, being very specific in your searching, filtering. But then, Chica, in the end, what I like to tell people is that this is why the Business Travel Academy is here. If you're having some difficulty and you just really find something specific, contact us at Business Travel Academy at bcdtravel.eu, and we will help you. We will partner with you and consult with you to find that recommended course. And I do that many, many, many times a week with people and teams.
Oh, very good, Jody. So that's the 10%. So let's go with 20%.
So there's just a host of different things that you can do here. One of the programs that we offer that actually we have two different kinds of programs that we offer that support this. One is our leadership faculty program, because we are using leaders within our company to come onto a virtual call and just talk to people and share with them about their successes and how they got there and what works for them, and answer questions you might have. So that's a beautiful example of the 20%, right? It just kind of blends this opportunity and community for people to talk, right? Another opportunity that we have that really uses the 20 is our peer learning sessions that we offer. This offers the individual an opportunity to come and talk about a topic within a very small group, about 6 to 8 people, right? So again, you're sharing, you're learning. So those are two things that we offer immediately right off of the top from the Business Travel Academy that really support that 20. But how someone can individually or on a team level is take this. And we have a saying in the learning and development community that says the best way to learn is to teach, right? And so if you've been recently inspired by something or recently learned something, go to your manager and saying, hey, I just found out some great tips on time management. I'd love to share it with the team in our next team call.
And
Beautiful
that's
example.
such a great point, Jodie. And we hear now more and more, both the leaders as well as teams throughout BCD are acting on that point,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're putting together spaces within their agendas so that we can
Mm-hmm.
co-teach and co-learn and co-share, because that's
Absolutely.
what's going to continue to grow our organization. So high five to all of our listeners that are part of
Yeah.
teams that do that. And if you're not part of a team that does that, maybe this is an opportunity for you to step up and act like an owner in your team and start to ask for time on the agenda to share some actual learning.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
And
so
then that last
therefore we
component,
leave for
Tika.
the 70%, yeah?
Yeah, the 70%. This is obviously the largest part, right? And it's what you do with what you learn. And this can be range. I mean, there's so many possibilities here, but it's giving yourself activities and opportunities to practice what you have learned.
Mm,
Okay. This can range from, I'll use the example of emotional intelligence. I recently, and this is just in the spirit of transparency, this is an area I'm working on personally.
mm.
And I worked with some colleagues through our challenge program, and we decided that we wanted to keep an emotional intelligence journal, right? So I journaled about, where I showed good emotional intelligence and where I didn't,
Could you
and what I
define
did
that?
about it.
Could you define that for you? What does emotional intelligence mean for you, Jody? Because we hear that as a buzzword out there a lot, as a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
big topic.
yeah. I think emotional intelligence and how I define it is how I um, myself within the business environment. How am I managing my emotions, and I'm not allowing them to manage me, right?
Very
So
cool.
I think of it as responding and not reacting. I think it's about me knowing my strengths and my weaknesses, right? And building on relationships in a way that makes sense, right? So, that journal was an opportunity, and that's just an example how I applied what I learned. You could go to your manager and do things like stretch assignments. You could do some things like filling in for your manager when they're gone. These are just all, and there's so many examples. Any opportunity that you have to practice what you have applied, I think is a really good opportunity there in a 70. And it's tough because for every skill that you're
Right.
trying to be, it's going to be different, right? So it's a really good, thoughtful conversation to have with your manager to think about how you can apply and practice what you've learned.
Jody, that's a lot of meat on the bone there for anyone that is targeting themselves for their own development and their confident self.
Hmm.
Let me twist it this way. What if I'm an individual that wants to learn, but my supervisor maybe doesn't have the same passion to learn as I do?
Hmm.
Would you have any encouragement for me? Like, how do I continue to boost myself if I'm just either overloaded or don't have the support?
Wow, Chica, that's a good one. I think the first way I would respond to that is to continue to have thoughtful conversations with your manager, um, even though they may not support what you're doing. And I certainly hope that's not the case. I think showing them examples of how you've improved your work through over time is going to help buy them into that. So I would say don't avoid the topic with your manager, to continue to have that kind of conversations with your manager. Second is that, ultimately we all own our own development,
Mm.
right? And so I think, having courage and going out within the BCD environment and participating in things that may not, you know, present themselves in a very logical way, but, getting involved in chatter, getting out and networking and expanding your personal brand, getting out on LinkedIn, all of these things are things that you can do on an individual basis, to continue to grow and develop yourself. As much as I want managers to support it, if you don't have that, I would not let it stop you.
That's
You're the
awesome because you
master of your own ship.
thank you. And that, I mean, who's responsible for your development? I mean, it's not your manager, it's you. So that's
Right.
a really,
Right. Absolutely.
really great exclamation there point, Jody. So as we
Hmm.
start to wrap this up, because you've given us a lot to chew on here, is there any other programs or things that you're working on that you'd love to share with our listeners?
Well, I think the Business Travel Academy, we're doing a lot of different things right now. So obviously, we're getting heavily involved in LinkedIn Learning. Our leadership faculty program is something that has really taken off and are really getting a lot of exposure, and we're getting fantastic feedback about it. Our peer coaching sessions are really taking off as well. And so I would just encourage anybody to get out there, poke around out there in Knowledge Hub, or reach out to one of your local Business Travel Academy people, and certainly we can help point anyone in the right direction.
Jodie Schaekel, a master of learning at BCD Travel. I have my 5 questions for you to close this out if you're ready.
Oh, hit me with it. Go ahead.
I know that we talked offline about this, and I'm like, I'm not sharing.
I have no idea where you're going with this. But...
Jodie, where are you based?
I am in Chester, Ohio. So it's a little town, southeast Ohio.
Right on, right on. So you're in the US, obviously.
I am, obviously, yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And here are your 5 questions. Here they come. Question number 1.
Uh-huh.
Jodie, do you own another motor vehicle besides a car?
Yes, I do.
And
you want to know what those are?
Oh, yeah. Please run us through your list.
I own a car. I own a 4-wheel drive truck. I own a tractor, and I own a 4-wheeler.
Woohoo! Obviously, you're living in the city.
Right?
Question number 2, Jodie. Do you prefer frostbite or sunburn?
Oh, wow. You know what? I'm going to go with frostbite.
Living in Ohio, I don't doubt that at all. On a scale, question number 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy garlic?
I'm 11. I'm a big fat 11 on that scale.
Get it. And then question number 4, which animal in your kingdoms adds more joy to the world?
Chica, I have 5 dogs. Can we just go on? Next question, please.
All right, well then the final question. You've been with BCD 22 years, Jodie. Besides the people, I'm going to shift this, besides the people that you work with, what's your favorite part about this company?
Oh my goodness. I love BCD for so many reasons, and I think the number one reason is I don't feel like I'm working for a company that has 13,000 employees. I feel like I'm working for a family and within a family, and I feel very much a part of that, and I feel it every day in my work.
Thank you, Jodie. And if we have questions on Knowledge Hub, if we have questions on LinkedIn Learning, the best way, and I will include it all in the show notes, but it's through that email, which I'll put underneath this podcast. Is there anything else you want to share with the group before we leave, Jodie?
Not at all, other than just thank you. Thank you for having me, and I consider it a privilege to do what I do every day for BCD Travel.
And we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you, Jodie Schaekel.